Mysterious disappearance cases typically end in either a speedy closure or remain unsolved, but in some cases, missing people were found alive years later, much to the disbelief of those who thought they were gone forever. The stories they carry with them are full of twists, turns, and unimaginable experiences. And throughout all these confusing stories, one question keeps coming up: what are the mysteries behind these disappearances and reappearances? In this video, we're looking at people who disappeared and then made a miraculous return after years of mystery. Let's start our journey with the fascinating story of John Darwin, who managed to hide for years using a variety of clever plans. What made him disappear into the shadows? John disappeared from sight on March 21, 2002, while on a canoe ride. The Coast Guard and police conducted a search, and his paddle was discovered, but they were unable to find any information about his whereabouts. 6 weeks later, his rundown boat was found in a remote spot close to North Kourou. Darwin was officially pronounced dead at an open verdict inquest. His wife got compensation totaling about £250,000. Behind the scenes, unknown to everyone but his wife, John was alive, and all the dramas were aimed at the all-powerful money. John was obsessed with being a millionaire, and he tried unsuccessfully to trade stocks and real estate. Did you know he bought a £40,000 Range Rover while drowning in debt, all to maintain the illusion of wealth? The worst part was that his investments had already crashed, and in 2001, debt collectors came knocking at his door. Darwin, drowning in debt and desperate to avoid bankruptcy, came up with a crazy plan. He staged his own death in order to collect insurance money. He hid in a nearby apartment during the day, sneaking into his family home at night through a secret passage. In 2004, he traveled to the U.S., convincing a woman to buy property with false promises. His quest for wealth took him to Panama, where he made significant real estate investments while hiding from the authorities. The police got hints that Darwin might be living in Panama. Their suspicion increased when a picture of Darwin and his wife searching for property appeared online. Knowing the visa rules were tightening, he came back home, pretending that he had amnesia. He shocked everyone by saying he was a mission person in 2007. This led to both Cleveland and Metropolitan Police working together. Despite his plea, evidence from sightings and the Panama photo dismantled his story, leading to his arrest in 2008. After confessing to 8 deception charges, Darwin was convicted and incarcerated for a sentence of 6 years and 3 months. His wife was also charged with fraud and money laundering, later receiving a sentence of 6.5 years. Our next case takes us to Smithfield, Illinois, where 21-year-old Derek Higgins disappeared on March 21, 2013. As days passed with no signs of Derek, his family feared the worst. Days later, authorities discovered his car, a 1998 Buick LeSabre, in Florida, with his personal belongings, including his wallet and ID, still inside, but there was no sign of him. The investigators labeled him as endangered after finding his automobile, which had been in a minor accident. His mother thought he might have been suffering from memory loss after a head injury. In a wild twist, investigators arrested a man named Adam Wilson twice in Las Vegas for vagrancy in April and July of 2014. It was actually Derek under a fake name. Months later, when they checked the man's fingerprints, guess whose they matched? Yep, Derek's. Following that, on January 17, 2015, police from the San Diego Harbor Police Department located Derek and verified his true identity. The police sent him to a hospital in California, where he was kept under protective custody until his family could come. His parents were relieved that he was alive, even though they still had a lot of unanswered questions about his disappearance. His family thought that a series of previous car accidents had caused his memory loss. According to the police, there was no sign that he was using any illegal substance, and he didn't do anything wrong. He could go back to his life whenever he was ready. Our third case takes us back to 1974, when Lula Gillespie Miller, aged 28, vanished from her hometown of Laurel, Indiana. She felt she was too young to be a mother, so she had just handed custody of her 3 children over to her parents. Her family got a letter from Lula the following year that was postmarked in Richmond, Indiana. Despite painstaking searches, she remained missing, but her family never lost hope. In 2014, her case was assigned to Indiana State Police Detective Scott Jarvis. Jarvis received reports of a woman who matched Lula's description and had lived in Tennessee in the 1980s before moving to Texas in the 1990s. Authorities suspected that she was living under a false identity. Jarvis contacted the Texas Rangers, who located Lula's address in Texas. Lula, who had been missing for 42 years, was found alive at the age of 69. When asked about her disappearance, she admitted that she disappeared on her own and purposefully avoided contacting her family. Since she had not committed any crime, authorities kept her new identity under wraps, but she agreed to provide her contact information to her children. Her children were shocked to learn that their mother was still alive and well. However, when they finally got in touch with her, the conversation lasted only 2 minutes, and Lula couldn't talk anymore. She assured her children that she would get back to them shortly, but they didn't think she would. At number 4, we come up with the curious case of Patrick McDermott. He had an on-and-off romance with well-known actress Olivia Newton-John, and the two maintained their relationship for the next 9 years. However, Patrick mysteriously vanished on June 30, 2005, while he was a passenger on a fishing charter boat called Freedom. He was on board the boat, which had left the San Pedro Marina for a 22-hour fishing trip that would stretch all night. Even though he had been on similar trips before, this time he disappeared without a trace. He didn't know any of the other passengers, and there was no head count before departure. The boat was searched right away, as it was discovered he was missing. His belongings, including his car keys, wallet, and passport, were found on board. His family only found out he was missing when he failed to show up for a family get-together on July 11th, and he was soon reported missing. The Coast Guard Investigative Services found no evidence of oil play in Patrick's disappearance, closing the case in September the following year. A separate investigation by the United States Coast Guard suggested he likely fell overboard and was lost at sea. However, there were rumors that he staged his death due to debt. Undercover investigators searched Mexico, but after 20 sightings, he remained elusive. Dateline NBC employed a team of detectives, and they located Patrick in Mexico after years of going missing. His identity was ultimately established when he provided them with voice imprints and supporting papers. He told a Texas-based investigator that he no longer wanted to be chased by the media and investigators, and expressed his desire to live his life in peace. At number 5, meet Patricia Carlton, whose life became a puzzle of vanishing acts and memory blanks. In the spring of 1967, Marianne Urich visited her sister Patricia Carlton. Upon arriving at the house, she found that Patricia was unconscious and rushed her to the hospital. She was diagnosed with an aneurysm and required surgery. The operation went well, but when Patricia awoke, she had no memory. She could not even recognize her husband or her children. She needed to be taught how to do the most basic activities again, so a caretaker named Pat was hired to look after her. However, in November 1968, Pat contacted Marianne to inform her that Patricia had gone missing. 6 weeks later, Patricia was found in Alabama, unaware of how she got there. Patricia married Troy. She disappeared again, leaving her belongings behind. 3 weeks later, she was discovered on the outskirts of Houston, with no trace of how she got there. She would disappear 7 more times the following year, the last of which lasted more than a year, until she was discovered at a welfare office in San Diego. Unfortunately, Troy died before she was discovered in 2004. She lives with her family, who claim that she no longer wanders off and is receiving the necessary treatment. These stories show how people can vanish. Some do it on purpose, while others do it unknowingly, like Patricia's case. It's a reminder that life is full of unexpected twists and turns, and sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction.